listen.
Never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Getting on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
All right, there's no human being on the planet I'd rather be talking to right now rather than Cole Tucker. That's a fact. It's a fact. It's a fact. How are you, my friend? How are you?
Rob, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. Thanks for including me. Huge fan of you and excited to be here. Figure out what we're going to talk about.
You are officially part of the family. You're doing so many awesome things, which we're going to get to. But more importantly, there is nobody who's going to look better in a baseballs and boring T-shirt than you. That is you played for a couple different teams. I don't know what color you want. I don't know. What's your color?
Anything. My favorite color is blue. I didn't really play for any blue teams, but that's okay. I'll rep anything though. I'm just a fan of what you guys are doing here. So I'm happy to be included. Seriously.
Okay. Well, listen, again, part of the family now. Part of the family. So, first question. I don't know how this came to mind. I don't know top of my. I have no idea how I came up with this question. But what was it like to play drums on the new Champagne Lane song?
Wow! Thank you for asking this question. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I have no idea where I came up with that question. I don't know what baseball player could have possibly fed me that question. I don't know.
It had to be Bobby Dahlbeck, right? My guy, Bob. It felt amazing. Long story short, amazing. Champagne Lane's this band that I came across in 2020, I believe. A good friend of mine that I went to high school with, her name's Julia Preston, homie of mine, great friend, great person, sent me this song. She's like, this band kind of sounds like stuff that you like. And I listened to them, and they blew me away. They're these guys. They live in Atlanta. And no one knows who they are. They work 9-to-5 jobs, like real jobs. And for the last few years, I've been telling them to quit those jobs. I'm like, dude, let's make a band. You guys are awesome. You write great songs. So now that I'm done playing, I've got a hell of a lot more free time. And we got to record some stuff. We've got an album coming out this summer that's just getting finished up. Trying to convince them to go out and play some shows, but feels amazing. And Bobby is a sweetheart and a big fan of theirs too. But now we've kind of spread the word, and Champagne Lane is getting its name out there in the baseball locker room.
It's weird that if only Bobby Dahlbeck knew somebody in his family that might be able to help push along your music career. I don't know.
For those who don't know, Bob's dad is he's been in the record business for ever. Tim Dahlbeck, he has stories from hanging with Robert Plant and Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin back in the day. Like he could definitely help us out, but you don't want to call in like.
No, I know you don't. You want to pick your spots. You want to pick your spots. Can I?
Exactly.
I'm workshopping this right now, Cole. I'm gonna workshop something because I feel like I looked up Champagne Lane is just getting going. Like you said, they're just getting going. Your presence, let's be honest, is going to help their rising to great heights. I want to do something. Like I always say this about baseballs and boring. I feel like I'm using 5% of my brain. I'm going to try to use 6% of my brain. And I'm going to be like, let's do something with Champagne Lane. Let's have an event. Let's have a baseballs and boring concert.
Oh,
something. Where are you at right now? Where are you at?
That would be awesome. I'm down. I'm in Vancouver right now, but I'm only here for 2 more weeks. My wife is working up here filming a movie. Okay. So I'm changing diapers and being dad and playing golf when he goes to sleep. So I'm living the dream, but I will be back in Phoenix and LA in 2 weeks. So we kind of bounce back and forth between Arizona and California. I'm from Arizona and love it. And it was the best place to grow up, and I'm never letting it go. And my wife is from California and loves it and is never letting it go. So we're kind of hybrid snowbirds. When it gets to be 110 in Arizona, we'll skip out and go to LA and hide out there for the summer.
This is all lining up because I don't know if you know the story of Baseballs and Boring about Joe Kelly. We started the whole thing. Here's the book, the book. And Joe lives in LA. Joe also has a place in Arizona where I stayed, and I was attacked by javelinas outside of his house. But anyway, there's a lot of, we can make this happen. We can make this happen. I do think that I do think that there is, we talk about the correlation between music and baseball, and we can talk about this. Is that
forever?
For you, there's the creativity, the attention to detail, like all of it. I mean, and then obviously, and also the adrenaline that it supplies. Like it's first of all, what we have to do, and again, I'm workshopping here. I'm thinking on the fly. We have to get somebody to use a Champagne Lane song as a walk-up.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
We do. If there are 2 guys in the league currently, 3 guys in the league currently who would do it, Bobby, obviously, huge fan, but he's like the most superstitious of this bunch of people, so he would probably be the least likely to actually do it, even though he is a huge fan. Mitch Keller might be a great guy to do it. Ooh. He's getting guaranteed money and is one of my best friends and is a big fan of the band.
Tyler Glass. He's in the Rolodex. So go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, is he a baseball boring guy?
Oh yeah.
There you go. Now we can circle back around.
Yep.
And Tyler Glass now might be a guy too, who Joe Kelly knows very well.
Okay. All right. I get that all 3 people that we have connections to this. Again, we're workshopping this. We're doing this on the fly. This is not staged.
Not at all. I had no idea you were going to bring up Champagne Lane at all, but I'm so happy that you did.
Again, this is honestly, so cool. Like, this is one of the things that I like about podcasting. Like, you guys, first of all, when we talked for the first time, we just did MLB Network Radio. And I'm going to say this sincerely, is that I hate when people say that. He's like, I'm going to say this sincerely. Well, if I say something else, is it insincere?
Yeah, right.
But I could tell I did it over the phone, but I am being utterly honest. Like, you can tell that you have a gift for this. You have a gift for this. You know why? Because much like here, you just talk. Like, you're not like, oh, I got to go down my list. Oh, I got to, like, no, we're just talking. Right?
Talking shop, man. Talking ball, talking life, talking music. It's everything that makes us alive. At some point in life, I fell in love with baseball and fell in love with music. And at some point in life, you fell in love with baseball and you fell in love with music. And here we are as adults and grown men, and we're still trying to find that little piece of awesomeness that we found in our childhood every day, whether it's a song we love or a band we worship or a team that we love to watch. You know what I mean? Like
every day.
That's what it's all about, for me at least. There's a lot of things that make a lot of different people tick, but music and baseball is kind of my life.
Yeah. By the way, so we have like I said, the aforementioned T-shirts. Noah Khan has Baseballs and Boring T-shirt. And I really want to get, and it's funny because when I mention this guy, I'm amazed at how many people and the generations in baseball clubhouses are like, oh, classic rock. What? I'm like, Eddie Vedder. Like,
yeah.
When did Eddie Vedder become classic? I know that you're young. You probably think the same way, but
I don't. But that's only because my dad told me what classic rock was. When I was 8 years old, driving to baseball practice in the back of his truck, like he was throwing Led Zeppelin in the car and like putting me on, teaching me stuff. So the classic rock that's like an Eddie Vedder or a Pearl Jam or even a Foo Fighters, they're only classic rock out of time. It's just because they're getting older, but they're not classic rock by any means. It's just the kids these days, the little TikTokers who don't know anything, they think it's classic rock.
It's one of these things where, and Eddie Vedder also a big baseball fan, which goes a long way. But I want to come back to and I appreciate again you coming on and taking the time. While your baby, how old is your baby?
He is 11 months old. He'll be 1 in July. Yeah.
Is it nap time? Right? Is it nap time right now?
It's not nap time. They're down at the park down the street. I walked them down there and came back. I was like, I got to do this thing. Okay. You guys have fun. And it's super cold here today. So
is it really?
Yeah, it's super cold. I went out in shorts and a t-shirt like an idiot, but it is not the weather for that. It's in the 50s for sure.
When you talk about music, which did you fall in love with first?
Baseball first, for sure. I baseball was my first love, my end all, be all, everything. When I was 5 years old, I went to game two and game seven of the 2001 World Series. And it was Yankees D-backs. My dad was a diehard Yankee fan, and I was growing up to be a diehard Arizona Diamondbacks fan. So there was like a house divided, if you will. And when I found out who Derek Jeter was and what he was about and how he played and his story and his journey, that was a wrap for me. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and get drafted out of high school. I'm gonna play shortstop in the big leagues. I want to be just like Derek Jeter. Da 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 da. And that was me from the time I was 5 to the day I got drafted. Like my whole, it felt like my professional career started way young in my mind. You know, I was having fun and being a kid and doing this and that and the other, but baseball came first. And then I fell in love with music through movies, ironically. I saw the movie Drumline, the Nick Cannon.
Oh yeah,
drums
of course.
movie,
Yeah.
and I was like, that's really cool, piqued my interest. I wasn't gonna ever go join a marching band because then I would have had to actually learn how to read music and do it technically accurate. But then School of Rock came out a couple years later. I believe that was 2005, and it blew my mind. I was like, holy shit, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I asked for a drum set for Christmas that year, and I was probably 9 years old, and I've been playing ever since. I started playing guitar in spring training of 2019. Sorry, I keep rambling, but music.
No,
gets
you're
my
not
blood
rambling.
flowing.
No. This is a great thing about podcasts is that
Totally.
we've talked about 50 different things and we're just talking, right? But keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. I started playing the guitar in 2019, and I've gotten pretty good at it. Me and my wife is the singer of the family. She can belt, and I sound like your brakes in your car. But we have concerts for my son every day, and I play the guitar, and she sings, and it's just a house full of music. Life is awesome. Life couldn't be any better. Really.
Let me ask you something about baseball. So when you said it just sort of piqued my interest when you said, I saw Jeter and I was locked in. And then like this was your focus. I was going to be a draft pick. And in this day and age, I think it's become more chaotic than ever when it comes to that. Like, because you could do it because you were good and you were talented, but there's so many kids and little Johnny, is on YouTube across the street, and like, well, we got to keep up with little Johnny because he wants to do that. Oh, wait a second. The parents paid this money because I'm going to get my kid to go here. And what I'm saying is the pressure, like you were laser focused on this, but it is like a weird dynamic now compared to even back then, right?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like the game is it's a living thing. It's always changing. It's always evolving. There's a new rule this year. There's a new player. There's a new manager, this, that, or the other. There's always something new happening, and there's new strategies and thoughts and ideologies that creep into the game. Since I was a kid, it was little league, club ball, throw the bats and balls out there, repetition, 10,000 hours, go out and get better, watch the game, pay attention to the game, learn the intricacies of the game. Now I feel like when I watch the youth baseball world, it's a lot more about pimping homers and showcase and my exit velo and my velo on the mound and my sliding mitt that I wear on my hand because all the guys wear on TV. And now I'm seeing a lot of, it's not imposter syndrome. These kids are trying to get to the big leagues just as hard as I was and just as hard as the people that came before me were. They're just doing it in a different way. I won't even say the wrong way. They're just chasing things that are different than when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I wanted to be able to be trusted at every position. I wanted to learn how to switch hit. I wanted to learn how to move runners and play the game and score from second base on a single and like the little ins and outs of the games that are important when you get to be in college or on high school team or professional, But now I feel like, and I have a 12-year-old cousin who is serious about baseball. They just won that big youth tournament in Cooperstown yesterday.
Oh, all right.
Awesome. Yeah, Carter's killing it. But I feel like these kids are just watching what they see on their phones or what they see on TV. They're not watching the game as much as I feel like my generation or your generation was, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I listen, you're scratching right where I itch. I mean, it's like, it's exactly that. And it's such dangerous is a strong word, but it's like you want to focus. You just said it. I wanted to focus on playing every position. I want to focus on this. I mentioned Little Johnny on YouTube, but Little Johnny on TikTok or whatever. Oh, he did that, or he wore this, or we got to buy this, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's just like a dynamic where, and the other part about it, Cole, is everything is power, 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 power. Right? It's you got to throw this hard or you're not going to get looked at. If you got to hit it this far or you're not going to get it looked at. You got to hit it in the air or you're not going to get looked at. Whatever it is. And that problem is a thing that it stretches beyond youth baseball. I mean, you can talk about it stretching to Major League Baseball.
1000%. And it does. And it has. I could speak to you about my experience in the big, like I was trying to hit pull side in the air when I first got up to the big leagues because that's what the game was paying. That's what the game was rewarding. That's what the coaches were telling us to chase. You know what I mean? And there's so much in there. There's so much power. You could do this and that and the other, but it wasn't who I was as a baseball player. And there's so many kids who are trying to be versions of the baseball players that their bodies and their skill sets aren't meant for them to do, you know? I feel like if baseball players worldwide focused on trying to make themselves the best version of themselves, as opposed to looking like that guy on TV or trying to do the teacher man because Judge does it or trying to do this or that, like people are chasing all the wrong things instead of just trying to learn the game and get better at the game and repeat those things over and over and over and over and over because that's what plays on TV league every night.
Did you feel that way when you were going to different teams in the major leagues? You know, in terms of like they say, hey, listen, because there's some organizations take different philosophies. You know, I've been talking a lot about the Red Sox hiring half of driveline.
Yeah,
and
what are we doing?
Yeah, well, and so listen, I know there's a lot of. I every time I bring this up, I feel kind of like it's like a caller saying, "I like you I like you personally," but here's the thing: is that you look at bat speed, for instance. They show bat speed now, right? Well, did you have good bat speed? Did you have?
I never even looked at it ever.
Yeah.
Like I never paid attention to it, and now in the last couple of years, now that these driveline people and body experts are getting into the game, they're talking about it and they're giving that information to people. But say you're a kid who is 24 and you're playing in Worcester and you're in the Red Sox system, and all of a sudden now at 24, even though you've been playing baseball for like 17 years and trying to hone your craft and master your skills, now your organization that drafted you, the Red Sox, is telling you that you have to do bat speed training every day in the middle of a season, in spring training, before games, in BP. How on earth is that going to transfer? And I'm not trying to poop all over the Red Sox, but like this is just
no, but it's not. They're not the only organization to do that.
They're not the only one that's doing it. But why? What does that have to do with being good that night and getting a hit or making a play to help your team win? That's all it's all about. I don't care what your bat speed is if your numbers aren't good. If you can't help us win, who cares? Like there's so many. You could go to any driving range in America and find some dude who's hitting 300 drivers that has good bat speed. It doesn't mean he can hit the ball or do something, you know?
Well, and the obvious example of that is if you do go now that you can go to Baseball Savant and see these, the bat speed numbers, and the two slowest bat speeds are Jacob Wilson and Luis Ariz, two hitters, right? I mean,
they're two of the best
right. Ask any
hitters.
Ask any pitcher who they don't want to face, and those two guys will come up.
Yeah. We just got so far down the exit velo launch angle max numbers rabbit hole instead of like the who's getting the most hits rabbit hole. Like I have this argument with my buddy who is a diehard Yankees fan all the time. His name's Quentin. He'll love that I'm bringing this up.
Hey, Quentin, what's up?
What's up, Quentin?
You want to go to our concert, our Baseball's and Boring concert?
He will definitely be there.
Let's go.
He will front row.
Quentin, congratulations. You got a T-shirt and an invite.
Hell yeah. He's always like, Aaron Judge is the best hitter alive. I was like, yeah, what he's doing right now is unbelievable. And the run he's on is historic. And people will be talking about this for 100 years. But if I needed somebody to go up there and hit the ball forward and make contact and to put some part of the bat on the ball, Aaron Judge would not be my first choice. I'd throw Freddie Freeman out there every time because Freddie Freeman's balling. I'm like, I would trust Freddie as a hitter, pure hitter, contact hitter than Judge, but some people don't understand that nuance. They just see Judge's numbers and the homers and the ball going over the fence, and they're like, that guy's the best. There's so much nuance in this game, you know?
I'm going to blow your mind, and I want you to use this on MLB Network Radio. And don't credit me. Please don't. This is your own. So I've been looking a little bit at this because one of my things is, well, obviously when the postseason rolls around, people say, oh, look, people are putting the ball in play. This is how it's done. The winning teams do it, which is true. Yeah. You got to put the ball in play when it counts the most. The Toronto Blue Jays have the best batting average in close and late situations. You know who swings and misses the least in baseball? The Toronto Blue Jays.
Wow.
So to me, that says when it counts the most, they're putting the ball in play. I mean, there's
something to that.
I think so. I don't know. So we've gone way down my ranting about the bat speed, whatever. But anyway.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No. Please don't. You are awesome. You are doing awesome. You're perfect. And when I say the stuff like that, that's just me in my own head.
Totally. I'm with you.
So all right. So I want to ask you why you retired. This is a hard pivot, but I want to ask you why you retired because obviously you have you have such an awesome future, awesome life, so talented in so many ways, and there's an element of me without even you answering said, good for you for doing what you want to do. Why did you retire though?
I appreciate it. And thanks for understanding and thanks for being cool about it. But yeah, I'm getting that question a lot, obviously. But I was just ready to. I love baseball. I will always love baseball. And I will die trying to always be involved and near and close to the game as I can be. But I've been playing since I was 17. I got drafted at 17 out of high school. And my career, I mean, you can Google me. There's no secret as to how it's gone. It's been up and down and all around. I feel like I gave so much to it. And now, I kind of got to where I'm going to get in it. And even when I was a little kid, I was always like, I'm never going to be that guy that just keeps signing minor league deals and keeps showing up because my identity is wrapped up in my existence as a baseball player and that there's more to me and there's more to life and there's more things that I want to do with my life than just be a baseball player. And I've gotten to do it. Everyone that will ever know me will always know that I played baseball. And that's all the little kid in me ever really wanted. I just wanted to be one of the fraternity brothers that got to play baseball in the big leagues. And I'm so proud and happy and thankful and forever indebted to so many people for that. But I don't need to do it anymore. I have more interest in doing things like this with you now. And talking about the game. I have a desire to coach the game. I would love to manage one day. I don't think that just because I didn't have 700 homers or hit 300 or play 20 years in the big.
Kevin Cash had 19 home runs. Well, why not? You went mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
But I don't think that that's a demerit on me, and I don't think I could be a good coach or pass on valuable information in the game. I want to do all those things. I want to play the drums. I want to be a present dad. Having a kid was a huge piece of it. I was like, I'm not going to go sign a minor league deal and go play 100 AAA games this year and miss the first year of my kid's life. It's just there's more important things to baseball than me. If I hadn't gotten to the big leagues or if I hadn't reached my dream or did all I set out to do, I would keep playing. And on that same token, I'm not going anywhere. I'll always be around in baseball. So that long story is why I retired, but got to do it, ready to do other things. If the world was ending tomorrow and I was out playing baseball somewhere in the PCL today, I'd be really pissed off I wasn't here with my family.
Man, you nailed that. That was a great answer. Was it hard though? It's one thing to think through all that, but to actually say push the button, the retirement button, was that hard?
Yeah, it was uncomfortable for sure. Just because there's a grieving process almost. Even though my identity isn't completely wrapped up in being a baseball player, a lot of it is. I'm a dad and a friend and a son and a brother and a person as well. But I've been a baseball player and been trying to be a baseball player for my entire life. So it feels unnatural. I wasn't working out this off season. I just went to the cage to kind of hang out with some friends and hit some flips, just messing around. But I really didn't unzip my baseball bag from last season. Like it's still wrapped up. I knew it was it. I got to play the last game of the season last year, like knowing it was it. And there were a couple other guys on my team who were wrapping it up too. It was good enough for me. I don't need the big ceremonious Cole Tucker played baseball.
No, man, we gotta have a party. Can we have have you had a party? Have you had like a retirement party or anything?
I haven't had one yet, but I'm going to in a few weeks. My birthday is July 3rd, and
I saw that.
Yeah, and I've had a baseball game on my birthday every year since I was 10 years old. My last birthday party was when I was 9 years old at the Game On Entertainment Center in Ahwatukee in Arizona, and I had like 10 of my baseball buddies and some kids from school come. And I haven't had a true birthday party since then because I've been playing everywhere all over the world ever since then. So I'm going to have a birthday party, and it's going to be awesome. We're going to hang in the pool, play some music, have some food.
Okay.
But just hanging, keeping it moving.
I would give you a retirement party if you wanted something more than just a birthday party. I'd be happy. Like
maybe that's the baseball isn't boring. The festival,
Where's I don't want to invite myself to your birthday party.
It'll be in Phoenix. It'll be in Phoenix.
Okay. It'll be so if you see a guy coming in with a box of baseballs and boring T-shirts, that's me.
Come on through. You're always welcome at anywhere I am. Seriously, Rob.
So let's talk a little bit something about what we talked about earlier about music and the correlation between music and baseball. There is such intricacies, and there is a attention to detail, and there is a creativity. All these things. If I explain baseball and explain music, the two things. It's funny, So Cole, do you have any tattoos?
I have 3 tattoos. Yeah, they're all pretty small and like hidden. Like you wouldn't tell that I have tattoos, but I have a few.
Okay, for those listening, I'm going to tell my tattoo story for the millionth time. I apologize, but I feel it's pertinent. So last year, when in the World Series, I said to Joe, if you win the World Series, will you get a baseballs and boring tattoo with me? And he said, yeah, but only if Mr. Cartoon does it. I said, sure. I don't know who Mr. Cartoon, who was that?
Who's that?
Yeah. And then, so they win. And then I looked up Mr. Cartoon, and it's Eminem, Shaq, Beyonce. It's only like celebrities, right? Who does this? Is in the Modelo commercial. So fortunately, he's a Dodgers fan, and he agrees to do it. I fly out to LA. I get the baseballs and boring tattoo with Joe. But the reason I bring this up is because this guy, who is one of the preeminent artists that you can find, as he's doing it, and as he's like doing Joe's as well, I'm thinking the attention to detail, the attention and the focus and everything, there is absolutely a correlation here with baseball. It's a different mindset, but it's still like, I'm thinking about this guy has spent 3 hours doing these tattoos and doing it where he cannot not be perfect, because this is his thing. Like if I go around saying, hey, I got a Mr. Cartoon tattoo, and they're like, whoa, there's a smudge right there, like, he's gonna be like, no. There's the attention to detail and everything. So anyway, why I'm saying this is because I feel like it's the same thing with music, right? You got to be creative. You have to have tremendous focus and a tremendous discipline. So anyway.
Definitely. You do. And it's like going to the gym. Playing music is like working out. If you don't work out for a while, like your body's going to feel it, It's the same with music. And it takes so much attention to detail. What else did you say? Discipline.
Yeah.
And the biggest piece is like, you have to be creative, and you have to be able to work well with others and know how to play and share and be a good teammate and listen. The 2 biggest things that I feel have some carryover between music and baseball, especially, is rhythm and timing. Like if you go into any big league cage and you ask the hitting coach and he's not some driveline Dartmouth nerd, he's going to say the two most important things are rhythm and timing. And if you ask any professional musician, a drummer, they're probably going to say rhythm and timing as well. And I've always thought that like the duality of that is really cool. Here I am as a drummer and rhythm and timing is my life. And here I am as a shortstop or a hitter and rhythm and timing is my life. It's like I've been bound to these things. And it feels like everything that I'm learning and experiencing in life outside of family and friends and being social, I feel like are being taught to me through music and through baseball. And I don't know, you just are who you are. And I feel like I've just been made up of both for so long. And hopefully I can be forever.
Who is the player that you say that guy has the rhythm and that guy lives in rhythm and timing? You know?
Currently?
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure. I mean,
oh man, I mean, Pete Crow Armstrong, Jacob Wilson, Shohei Ohtani. There's a zillion of them.
yeah, I mean, but and it's I'm thinking of it. I'm thinking of like, you know, it's not necessarily herky jerky or, you know.
Like a very rhythmic,
Yeah.
flowy guy.
Yeah, maybe even like like you said, Pete Crow Armstrong. Obviously, when you play defense like that, there is some rhythm, there is some smoothness, there is like, you know, it's the jazz analogy and everything else.
Yeah, I would say today the best example of it would probably be Francisco Lindor.
You know, I'm not lying. That's exactly who I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's so like suave and smooth and never out of control, and the moment's never too big for him. Like he's a shortstop for the Mets, but he carries himself like he's the lead singer of the Beatles or Queen or something. Like his poise and confidence and charisma, and obviously his ability is otherworldly. It's special.
So who is the Francisco Lindor of musicians?
I think it's Dave Grohl.
Right.
Honestly, they are not that way stylistically by any means. Like Dave Grohl looks like he is working at like your local dive bar in your town that you grew up in, and Francisco Lindor looks like a supermodel from Puerto Rico. But like how Dave plays and carries himself and can seamlessly shift from instrument to band to this festival to that festival and do it effortlessly, coolly. Dave Grohl's the guy.
That's an awesome answer. So as you have played the drums and as you have gotten into music, have you felt like, and you've gotten further away from baseball and more toward this, have you felt more drawn to it? In other words, like when you're doing it, like you said, you learned the drums at 9 years old or whatever it was, right? Or was it 9 or 12? 9. Yeah. And so when you're doing that, and you pick up the guitar, you know, in your teens. But now you have more time, family aside, but more time. Now you're focused more on it. Do you feel like you're in that rhythm more? Because you're in the rhythm of baseball. You just said it, right? You know what an off season looks like. You know what a season looks like. Now, do you feel like you're getting a rhythm of being the drummer where all roads lead to the big baseball's important concert?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, actually. And I'm serious. I will be there. And
yeah. We're going to do it. We're going to do it.
But I do. I always have a guitar sitting on the couch. Like it's omnipresent. I have a drum kit at the house, and now my son is getting older, and my dad always says, you got to brainwash them early. You got to expose them to what you want them to, you know, kind of like. And I have these soundproof headphones for him, and I put him in his bouncer, and I put him in front of my kick drum, and he sits there and just jumps up and down and loves everything about music. So now I feel like I'm kind of brainwashing him, but he is excited and intrinsically motivated every day to wake up and listen to music and play music. We got Red Hot Chili Peppers on the YouTube concerts on the TV, and he's jumping up and down. So it's definitely, I feel like I'm kind of curating our house to be that way.
Nice.
We're a musical family, obviously, but I'm definitely in the rhythm. I'm getting way better and I'm understanding more. I've never taken a music lesson. I self-taught everything. I learn in a very specific way, and I am just trying to pass anything down to him that I can, because I don't really know music theory. I know it in the way that it makes sense to me, but I'm not a classically trained musician like
Is your wife, if your wife classically trained? Yeah.
she knows piano, and she was a theater kid, so she really knows how to sing. That's her instrument. She knows how to play piano, can dance and act her ass off. She can do it all. But she can kind of help with that and give him piano lessons, and I can teach him how to try to be a rock star.
All right, let me ask you this, because when we talked for the first time on MLB Network Radio, the first thing I said is, I know someone who went to your wedding, and it's the aforementioned Bobby Dahlbeck. I always love talking about like who dances at weddings. So who was the guy who just said, I'm at Cole's wedding, man, I'm
Like,
dancing.
the guy who was on the dance floor the whole night, like every time I circled back around that area, he was there. It was Chris Archer.
Oh,
Chris Archer was chipping tile, cutting rug, tearing it up out there.
all right. Was it did you had DJ, this is DJ band?
We had a band. We had both. We had a live band that played like 10 songs probably, and then we had a DJ as well. And me and my wife performed Faces, Rod Stewart.
Oh yeah.
You know the song Stay With Me?
Yeah.
Like, she got up and sang it, and I got up and played the drums on it, and we blew the roof off of it. It was really fun.
I had my daughter's wedding. We did it's a tough pick, you have to pick the song.
Totally, yeah.
I found, speaking to Eddie Vedder, I found a deep cut Eddie Vedder song called Stepping. And yeah, it was like, oh man, I of all the things, I'd get a lot wrong, but I got this right. But the problem was, so the one time, Cole, I'm walking through Seattle during the All-Star game, and I see Theo Epstein, who I know for a while. I said, hey, Theo, I haven't seen you, whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, let me introduce you to Eddie. I'm like, and then like Eddie. So now I start like, and I totally froze. And what I should have done is I should have like, I to this day I regret it. I should have said thank you for the song that you gave my daughter. The song so happened. Instead, I started babbling about t-shirts.
It happens, man.
Oh,
And I've been there too, being a baseball player in my wife's world, obviously, like you run into a lot of people. And every once in a while, someone
all right,
is
who's the guy? So who, not the guy or the girl or whatever. Who's the in that other world
that starstruck
Yeah.
me? Are you a Foo Fighters guy at all?
Yeah.
You know Taylor Hawkins, the drummer?
Yeah.
I got to meet him before he passed away, and like we could hardly speak. He was my musical Derek Jeter, if you will. He was the guy that I emulated the most. So that kind of like stopped me in my tracks for sure.
Oh man.
But we're pretty cool. We're pretty cool. We keep it chill,
Well, now you live in like, you're used to the world. It was just great, right? And
It's
honestly,
fake
like
life.
there probably isn't an athlete where I ever, it's feel that way, but it's just when you enter into a different world, so. But let me ask you about a rhythm in a different sense, in a different world, and another thing that you're doing, and that's, you talk about podcasting or on the radio or broadcasting. I said it at the beginning. I'm like, I can tell you're really, really good at it. If it was me, I would hire you for a broadcast right now. But have you gotten, how many times have you done this stuff?
I've probably done like 10, 12 radio shows by now. Done a couple TV.
The great Jeff Joyce, by the way,
He's awesome, and I'd never spoken to him before you were on with us last week. He was a treat. So let's say 15 ballpark things I've been doing.
So we talk about the rhythm of it. Do you get podcast is a little bit different, as we're explaining right now, but do you get the rhythm? Can you feel like the more you've done it, you've got the rhythm? Because I don't know, from afar, when you're playing, you hear these shows on MLB Network Radio, whatever. Oh, that's what they're doing. But then you're in the middle of it. You realize there's breaks. You realize, hey, I got to stop myself, or I got to go, whatever it is. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's a feel. Feel is everything about it, because I didn't go to school for this. No one sat me down and said, hey, here's the 100 things you need to know about broadcasting or radio or what have you. But I'm just trying to feel it out and listen to people who have been doing it longer than I have, and leaning on the producers, There's you got to take a beat. You got to not talk over your partner. You got to leave space for your guest, and you have to hit this read, and you got to get out in 30 seconds because we're going to commercial. Just trying to learn on the fly, honestly, and just being thrown into the fire and taking up as little space as I can, and then finding out how I can grow and grow and grow that. But I feel like it's similar to getting called up to the big leagues for the first time. Like I've been talking all my life and I know how to speak and have a conversation with someone, but I've never done it in the big leagues before. Now I feel like I'm kind of doing it in the big leagues in a sense. And just like I did when I got called up for the first time, watching the older guys who know better than me. But there's definitely a rhythm to it, and it's a skill. And not everyone can just roll out of bed and do it. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to be interesting and entertaining at the same time. You're kind of juggling, there's a lot to it. And you've been in this world for a long time. You know what I'm talking about, but there's so much that goes into it that you get to see behind the scenes that you don't just as the fan.
Well, when we were talking and you were asking me questions back, when at that time I was at Yankee Stadium, I could tell, like, number one, you knew what you were talking about. I could tell, like, these weren't, like, a lot of times you hear the questions and you're like, oh, they Googled or they're piecing it together. I could tell that you knew what you were talking about, that you were generally interested in not only asking the question, but getting the answer. And I've used this example a million times. I probably used it 3 times this week on different podcasts, is that sitting down with Mookie about his podcast and how that made him a better communicator.
Yeah.
Because you have to listen. Like when you're playing and guys come up and interview you, rarely are you going to be like, well, what do you think about that? You're just answer the questions and let's go, right?
Totally. You're absolutely right. I have a question for you.
Yeah, good. I love it.
About the podcasting world and space and how you found your spot in it, and what's it like on the other side. Everyone's always like, you should start a podcast. I'm like, I don't know where I would start and with who, but this is awesome. Like I love being on them as a guest.
All right. First of all, I want to give a formal invitation. Anytime you want to have any podcast on the Baseballs and Boring Network, you have an open invitation to do it. And as you're talking, I'm not even lying. I say that? I'm not even lying. But it's you can tell that you're very good at this. You're very good because you listen. And the fact that you're asking me a question tells me a lot too. It honestly does. So, I came up as a writer, a reporter, and then you sort of and then ultimately I worked for the sports radio station, did some broadcasting, and then part of that is podcasting. But podcasting, 8 years ago is a lot different than podcasting now. So many people have podcasting. And then so when we started Baseballs and Boring, it became an everyday thing. So that was challenging. But I love it, Cole, because it allows me just to talk. It allows me to meet people like you. It allows me to learn things. So many different personalities. In this past week, I've had on Luke Weaver, had on Lucas Giolito, had on Jake Mangum, had all very different personalities and all very I've learned something from every one of them. I've Charlie Morton last week, I think it was last week, he said like, obviously I don't know if you know Charlie.
Yeah, he was with the Pirates when I got drafted by them back in 2014.
Yeah, so I mean the most like introspective guy that you'll find in baseball. You ask him a question and he'll be a pause. You're like, oh shit, is he mad at me? And then he'll go for 5 minutes, right? But he said, he said he was struggling when we talked, and now he's doing well. But he said, if they give you the opportunity to figure it out, then figure it out. I'm like, all right, that's it. And so my point is that I learned something from that conversation. I learned something. And so I love doing these conversations. I love this. And I think that where a lot of people get when they do podcasts, and sorry to rant because you just got me going.
No, you're good. You're good. Keep going.
Is I hate when people have their I'm going down the list of questions and I'm not listening to you. You know, I hate that. And I think that one of the great things about this is that we can talk about anything. When I did the podcast with Giolito yesterday, it was hey, I went to a movie. I walked out of a movie. Have you ever walked out of a movie? And then you're like,
Great
what
place to
movie was
start.
it? Well, was it Wes Anderson? Well, okay, let's talk about why Wes Anderson. Hey, do you know anyone in Wes Anderson's movies? Do you know? It must be weird acting in a Wes Anderson movie. And then, oh, by the way, you were really bad in your last start, and you're really good in this one. What happened? So
That's so funny.
yeah, but
Yeah,
it's like
that's what it's all about,
Yeah.
though. And people, and I get it because I'm a baseball guy too, and I want to watch the game and I want to see who wins and who's going to win the World Series, just like everyone else does. But there's 29 losing teams that go home and don't win the World Series every year, and they have 26 plus really interesting people sitting in those lockers wearing those uniforms. There is so much story in baseball, and people like you tell the stories, and I like that is what it's all about. If you if you grow up as a, let's say, who's a team that hasn't won in forever? Let's say you're a Padres fan
Yeah.
and you've seen a World Series team in your life. You still love the team and you still want to know everything you can about the people who are playing it and your favorite guy and the backstories. And, oh, these guys play golf. These guys are into cooking. These guys do whatever. Like, there's so much behind the box score in baseball that is just as interesting on it to me, you know?
No, it's so true. And that's honestly, one of the reasons, Joe and I did the book was, he interviewed people like Mark Hoppus of Blink-182. Right. And he said, how did you fall in love with baseball? I said, well, why did you interview Mark Hoppus of Blink-182? Because everybody has a story about falling in love with baseball. And he had a great one. Rob Lowe had a great one. Rob Manfred, who we interviewed for 45 minutes, had his own story. So, and like for it's yesterday, Romy Gonzalez is walking off the field. And I'm like, well, what can I talk to Romy Gonzalez about? Well, he's been really good pinch hitting. Well, how do you pinch hit? Well, like I always look at going way back, Matt Stairs just going up and taking cuts, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah, and just like this swinging out of his ass. So, and then so we talked about that, and then he's like, who leads all-time leader in pinch hits? Lenny Harris. Like, how I know this? He's like, he's my neighbor. I'm like, he's your neighbor, and just like stuff like that. Like you don't know unless you ask.
That's a great story. Like that's so cool. I still remember, like, I can't remember all of them because I read a zillion of them, but there's all of these players that I remember from when I was a little kid. Chris Woodward, utility guy, he's been a manager now, but like I remember an article when he was playing for the Seattle Mariners. I couldn't tell you what year it is, but he was the utility guy. And he grew up, he came up as a middle infielder, obviously, but he ended up playing first base, right field, third base, everything. And a beat writer wrote a story about Chris Woodward in like 2000, whatever, about how many gloves he had in his locker. And I grew up to be a utility player who was obsessed with baseball gloves. I collect baseball gloves. Me and my dad have been scouring the internet for certain baseball gloves since I was a little kid, and we have hundreds of them. And I got to grow up and play against Chris Woodward as a manager and as a first base coach. And I got to tell him the story. Hey, dude, you inspired me by your glove story that came out in Seattle 20 years ago. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for influencing me and changing my life. Like, that is what gets me going.
Oh, so
what
good.
I love about baseball more than anything. I don't give a shit that I didn't do X, Y, and Z or the game. I got to do it and be a part of the living organism that is MLB baseball.
But I can tell you that but what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to use those experiences, use those stories, use that interest, use that love for the game to do exactly this, radio, broadcasting, whatever. I mean, you could be a broadcaster like tomorrow, I can tell you, because, as having been a Jamoke who, like a writer, they said, hey, be a broadcaster. I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't go to school for it either. But you fill your head with information and you react, right? I mean,
totally. Talk about what you know.
Right. That's what that's the broadcasters I want to listen to. The guy who I want to sit next to the couch on. On the couch. Yeah.
Totally. And like, I remember growing up and having those guys, the baseball is just the coolest thing ever. My grandpa and my dad showed me everything about it, and I sifted through what they showed me and just fell in love with it. And I'm so lucky to be an adult and a dad and a retired baseball stiff and to be here talking to you about it. Like, I'm so grateful for all of it and not bitter at the game at all about it, and just like in a really good spot. Baseball's in a great spot. I'm in a great spot. There's absolutely nothing to be sad about, life's good.
You've been very generous with your time, but I did want to ask with the comparing baseball and something. You mentioned your wife's profession, being an actor,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you had the chance to, because I was actually on the way here listening to a podcast with Dakota Johnson.
Oh yeah,
with
I hear really nice too.
Oh yeah, seems very nice. And with Amy Poehler, I think she was her podcast, and she was just saying how she was trying to paint the picture like being on a set, right?
Yeah.
And most of the time we're here, like I listen to a lot of Smartless and those guys, and but you hear it comes off as a lot of times it's like, oh man, it's such a grind, it's such a hard thing and whatever. But she was talking about it like this is like Disneyland, like this is such a great place. And I don't know if you've got to experience about when you go to, like you said, you're in Vancouver now, if you go to Vanessa's set and say, hey, this is interesting how they approach this, because they're professionals, just like I was a professional. And if there's any correlation there, maybe there isn't, but
there is. There's a lot of sit around and wait. There's a
lot of that with baseball reporting, I can tell you,
and baseball playing too. Think about it. You're I don't know what time you get to the park on like a night game, but there's guys on the team, if it's a 7:00 game, that are getting there at 12, and they might not do anything till 2 or 3. And you're talking and you're watching video, and you might be getting your oblique worked on, and you got to eat something, and you're going to play cards with this guy because that's what you do every day. The movie set's the same thing. We've been going out there and hanging out, and it's just like a baseball organization in that there's trainers, there's doctors, there's stunt coordinators, there's specialists for this and that, there's a coach for this, there's an intimacy professional, there's a masseuse. It's just like baseball, and this is their big leagues. Like, my wife grew up with the dream of making it to her big leagues. She fell in love with theater and dance and singing and acting and playing pretend, and she's in the big leagues getting to do that. And like, everyone that works on that set is a part of that baseball team. The movie that they're making, this is their season. The 2025 baseball season is this movie that they're making, and everyone is there with the same goal and is pulling the rope in the same direction. And it's your summer family. The people that you hang out with in the press box or the clubhouse or wherever you are, that's who you are. You are who you're hanging out with, and it's just what life is all about. Just how you and I can find the similarities between sport and music. The arts kind of, like film is the same way.
That's why I asked that. And you brought as you're describing this, all I'm seeing is a baseball clubhouse, a baseball, it's almost exactly the same.
There's a food room, there's a snack area. There you could take a nap over here. It's literally the same, just no one's throwing a slider. Thank God.
All right, so that the obvious question is, who has the better food, the actors or the baseball players?
Baseball players.
Oh, wow.
Baseball players.
Wow.
You wouldn't think so, right?
No.
If you go to the Oscars Vanity Fair party, they have better food than the baseball players. Ooh. But if you're just out on a set of a movie, it's average. It's summer camp feeling, honestly, more than it's not like the show. It's more of like, all right, we're here and we've got tents set up. It's very makeshift. Fenway Park's been there for 100 years and will be there for 1,000 more. Mm. This movie set, they will pack up and move out and take all their shit to the next place as soon as.
See, I've learned a lot. See, that's what I'm talking about. It's all about
why it's awesome. Baseball is not boring.
Baseball's not. I spent a lot of times, man. I really appreciate it. And again, we'll workshop this baseball isn't boring event. Most importantly, happy birthday. Happy birthday. It must be weird having a birthday right before 4th of July, But
No, right? But everyone wants to party. It's all good. It's always a good time, you know.
yeah.
But thank you so much, and thanks for having me on. And you got my number. We'll do something on down the line. But let's get working on this.
Yeah, I love it. All right, thanks, man.